Well, thanks for coming in, man. Appreciate it.
Brother. No worries.
Took a little while to hook this up, but we're in here now.
Definitely. Thanks for having me on, bro. Appreciate it.
So tell me what this. I've noticed this men's medicine thing you're doing now.
Yeah.
What sort of brought that to fruition? Because I know following you on social media and that you said that there's been a lot of. Sounds like you came from a pretty hairy past.
Yeah, definitely. And I guess we'll break into that as well, but I'll touch on the men's medicine stuff to start with. Pretty much we're like a men's and women's movement. Go around, we do whole workshops, events and stuff.
Yeah.
Practically, for some outsiders, it probably looks a little bit spiritual, which it is. Yeah. But mainly we focus on just, getting the most out of people and helping people enjoy the best in their life, most out of their life. But I guess how it started, it actually started on a mushroom ceremony. Hey,
yeah, right.
Yeah,
we're all good things start. Yeah,
we're all good things start on mushrooms, and not like it was super random, bro.
Is it? I know she said ceremony. Yeah. So does that mean it was premeditated? Not like not like a night out where you're like.
It wasn't like, hey, what are you doing Friday? Want to go eat some mushrooms and sit around the backyard? Okay, cool. Yeah, it was all set up properly.
When you add ceremony, it gives it legitimacy.
Yeah. If it was just like we had mushrooms.
Yeah, if we started on mushrooms, I was like, oh, okay. Well, righto. Yeah,
it's a mushroom ceremony, and man, it was like for me, I was just sitting at home, and one of the boys is like, hey, do you want to come to this mushroom ceremony thing? I was like, okay, fair enough. Well, good. I ain't doing anything else tonight, and we all come together, and practically what happened was. Like it just got real deep, hey? Yeah. And we found out that a lot of the guys in the circle were dealing with a lot of traumas and troubles, and we weren't just like these spiritual dudes. Like we're all like footy backgrounds and guys out there doing stuff, and we all just started really dropping in with each other. And next minute, we just started really working on our lives, and found out we all had a lot of problems in the same areas. Yeah, and we just started doing stuff together and working on ourselves, like hard out, just like, I guess like a self-growth journey. Yeah. And within a couple of months, we're like, oh, who are we? We're on WhatsApp and we're like, are we men's medicine? Like, we were like trying to name ourselves. And man, it just kind of grew from there. It was a natural thing. We never had impressions of it being this movement that we go around Australia and New Zealand and start helping people. It was just a bunch of, pretty much the bros, really. Yeah. Just got together and we thought we're just helping each other out. And then, we did a video one day, one of our events, we went on a walk and blah, blah, blah. And it kind of went really viral. And next minute we had all these people asking us like, hey, can you come to Melbourne? Can you come to Sydney? And we're like, oh yeah, okay, cool. Guess like we're doing that now. Yeah. And man, it's just like this rush of just people asking us to come visit them and do what we did with them. And just it's very natural, organic growth of a movement, I guess. And we've just been on the ball ever since, just talking.
So a lot came from like you said, organic rather than like a financial background. We're like, I'm going to make money off people. Yeah. I guess that's the best way to grow, isn't it? If
we never were like, okay, awesome. There's this, like, let's start this movement up and we're going to turn it into a business. Obviously now we've had the transition and make sure it's turned into a business so it lasts long term. But man, it never started like that. It was just like, we were just doing our own thing and people started asking us to come to towns and cities and we're like, okay, we can do that. Yeah. Yeah. It's very natural. So
once people see it, I guess it's, I guess they think, I want to be part of that. Yeah. How do you do,
Yeah, from that video, hey, so many people seen that, okay, that's something I need. And they didn't know what it was. And that, like, everyone that rocked up, they're like, we've seen that video. Yeah. And they didn't even know what it was. They're like, we've seen that video.
So it's one of those things that you don't know you need it until you see it.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's right. It's always, what we do there is like, it's always been hard to explain for people as well. There's a lot of, even like when we started out, people were like, what is it? And everyone's just like, you just have to go and experience for yourself. Even myself, like I'm a pretty outgoing dude and stuff like that. Stepping in, doing that work, like as a man, being vulnerable, into that kind of spiritual space as well. Was very different for me. Definitely took me outside my comfort zone, man. It was,
I can imagine.
But I love the spiritual.
Gives
community.
me a bit of anxiety thinking about it.
Yeah, like I'm not like this super spiritual person or whatever. But I know going over to those spaces, they have some really good tools and stuff like that. I don't live there. I'm not super spiritual all the time, but I'll go over there, practice some of the things that they teach, and take what I can from every circle as well. When I'll get around. I've been kind of everywhere in so many spaces. So, man, I have a lot to offer over there, and I love it, eh? And
so who's behind it? You on your own, or
no? It's me and Lenore Holler. Yeah. Me and him were the directors of it, and we're actually just gone as a charity in the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, nice.
We realised obviously helping people is not greatly financial, and the people that we were helping are not in a position to be able to pay for, you know, self-help or any kind of personal development. So we've gone as a charity just recently, so that way we can start running free events, travel around and get support, because we've had so many people, especially with businesses, come to us, get a lot of help. And man, they're like, oh, we want to, you know, help you, donate money to you. Like, we can't take any money off you, man. We're not a charity. So I've had to transition into that.
Yep.
And I guess we realized, man, we're helping people. It's important to let them help us as well.
Yeah.
We were just not allowing people to help us as well. So, you know, you can't be all give and then not receive as well. I guess it goes full circle for us as well. So, yeah, that's been a hard challenge, you know. I thought helping people would be easy. Yeah. It's super hard, man. Yeah. It's actually harder than what anyone thinks. You know, you think people would be like, okay, here's this service, we can help you, or stuff like that. It's like, it's hard to get people over the line. People that are not doing so well mentally are not like easy to organize. People don't show up. There's so many things. You'd think, okay, we're helping you. Everyone would be awesome and they'll just come in and help, you know, receive it. But it's actually quite hard. It's probably the hardest business I've ever done.
Help. That's the hard thing about help, because some people, like you said, they're not necessarily used to getting it.
Yeah.
And then I guess there's all sorts of self-worth things where they think, oh, you know, I don't really deserve this help. It's very strange.
Yeah.
Setup, you know, especially help.
Yeah. It's hard for men too to reach out for help. That's why I guess I'll get into the base of why I even started doing this stuff, is because I actually come to a stage, like, my background, my past, which we'll dive into, was I had a lot of drugs and alcohol, smoked ice for like 3.5 years. So it was, and no one would think that now. You probably heard it on my Instagram the other day. I was speaking about it, and lots of people were like, man, I never knew that about you. Because
that's another level. That's like, for want of a better term, that's drugs on steroids. Like, that's man. Like, there's no, like, people say, oh, I was a pothead for a couple of years. Yeah. And you sort of think, oh, right, you know, you were harmless. Yeah. You just played video games. But ice is scary shit, man. That's like,
oh yeah, man. It's a soul eater, hey.
Yeah.
And it took me to a dark old place. I know that much.
Yeah.
And for me to be able to turn things around and come back here and be where I am now, in a position in the town that I live in the Gold Coast, is yeah, man, I'm just super grateful. Hey,
whereabouts are you from?
I'm from Quilpie originally. It's you probably won't know where that is. It's a real small town, man. Probably the closest town that you may know of is Roma. You know where Roma is?
Yeah, that's up.
That's inland. Like, say there's like Brisbane.
Is that by Toowoomba?
Yeah. Roma. There's Toowoomba, Brisbane, Toowoomba, and then Roma. And then there's a place called Charleville, which is another 4 hours from there. And then Quilpie is even further.
I just work in the mines out Wandoan.
Yeah, I know where Wandoan is. Yeah. You're like way out there. That's where I'm from. Quilpie.
It's not the end of the world, but you can see it from there.
It's close, mate. There's no trees out there.
Oh, it's so scary. Yeah. Whew.
Yeah, so I grew up out there, man, and my old man was a shearer. So I travelled around Australia pretty much as a young kid. Didn't go to school a lot. And man, I worked in the shearing sheds my whole life, pretty much cruising around. I would go to school maybe 6 months of the year, and then the other 6 months I'd be on the road with my old man, just traveling around. And
from how old?
My whole life, man, since I was a little baby. I was on the road like my whole life. I lived in Quilpie for half the year, and then the other half of the year would travel.
When the wool got long.
Yeah, when the wool long go, man, we'd be out there and we'd go on the shearing run. And
that's a real Kiwi upbringing.
Yeah, it is. And it's so confusing too, because people hear my last name, it's Heka, and they hear me talk and I've got a real Aussie accent.
It's confusing.
It's confusing. And I didn't actually know it. The first time I really got picked on it was I went to, where was I, in Christchurch, and I had I went into a youth prison, and like we're talking to these kids, and they're obviously there for no, you
didn't go to the youth prison. You were
I wasn't in the youth prison.
I was like, oh shit, this could be interesting.
I was on the other side this time. I was talking, and we went in there to do an event and a day with these kids in the youth prison, and I got up to talk, introduce myself. I was like, hey mate, I'm Luke Heka, and blah blah blah. And they just ripped on me, hey. They just ripped on me, because they were like, oh, where's your mud crabs, mate? Where's your... Show us your mud crabs. Where's your kangaroo? And they just, tore me to pieces.
I once met a dude who was Chinese.
Yeah.
But he was adopted into a German family.
Yeah.
And so he's Chinese, but this was in New Zealand, and he spoke German.
Did he?
And it was like... So you sort of... You expect him to speak in like a Chinese sort of...
yeah.
But it was the most off-putting. I kept staring at him thinking... This is so strange. Something weird about this.
I do it to Kiwis all the time. Like, I walk up and they're like, see my name, and they're like, hey bro, and I'm like, hey mate, how are you?
Yeah.
And they're like, they get that reaction. But you know, I like being able to throw people off like that, and that's why I sound the way I am. I grew up in a rural country town my whole life.
So is your father from New Zealand?
Yep, both my mother and my father are. I just sound like this for no good reason, you know. I don't know. It's just hanging out.
Well, I got a daughter who we moved here when she was 2.
Yep.
And she's full Aussie. Like she's as Aussie as it gets.
Hanging out with those full cowboys my whole life. That's just what happens. You just pick up the lingo. So yeah, man, it's like growing up in a small town. It's been interesting for me, but that's why I love the Gold Coast. And man, I'm like, there's so many opportunities here, hey. And you know, being able to travel around now, Australia and New Zealand, doing what we do with men's medicine has been you know, deeply rewarding. And coming from the background that I come from, obviously with drugs and alcohol, is man, it's
So how old were you when you moved? Were you heavily so take us back a bit. So you're traveling around, doing lots of work, sharing all sorts, and then what age did you sort of get mixed up in that stuff? Did you get mixed up in that stuff because you're from a small town and it became like a, you know, some people, they say drugs is really rife in small rural communities just purely because of boredom.
Yeah, definitely. Anyone that lives in a small country town, it's hard to escape drugs, especially ice, man. And it's because there's nowhere else to go.
Yeah,
there's nowhere else to go. There's not like 3 other groups of people that you can go hang out with. There's just one group of people, and that's it, mainly.
And if they're bad boys,
and if they're all smoking ice, well, you're probably going to be smoking ice too. So I'll run it back. Like I grew up in Quilpie and Longridge. I spent a lot of time out there as a kid, and then I was fortunate enough to go to boarding school in St. Brendan's up in Yeppoon, just out of Rockhampton. I don't know if you know where that is. And you know, I went there, ended up leaving school and everything, went to Brisbane. It was all good. You know, obviously loved to party, drink, playing football and stuff like that. And I went back to Rockhampton to do my apprenticeship as a carpenter, and that's when I got into drugs, man. Like,
oh really?
The thing that pushed me into it was I was an apprentice at the time, and I was probably earning about $280. And I didn't have not that my family didn't support me, but obviously that I wasn't getting, you know, a lot of other kids in that position were, their mum and dad were paying their rent and stuff like that. So I started selling drugs when I was young.
Just to make ends meet.
Yeah, I was selling freaking pingers at the club, man. Like when I was 17, 18. And one thing led to another, and I started smoking ice. And I know what happened too. I'll go on this story how it happened. Like these small towns, like back then in Rockhampton, they had obviously speed and stuff like that, which was obviously no good. And then people started having this. It was like they called it smokable speed, and I was like, no, that's not smokable. That's ice.
Yeah.
And anyway, me being a young kid, I didn't really care, and I started smoking it. And within a couple of months, hey, it just wrecked us, all of our whole circle. And I remember
when you say wrecked you, what do you mean wrecked you? Like it was all you were doing? Like that was like the number one?
That was it, man. Everyone just faded out within about 4 months. And I remember this because a lot of guys went home for Christmas, and it was leading up to Christmas, and they didn't come back after Christmas. And it took me a little while to figure out it's because they went home and their parents seen them, and they're like, these guys are like, that's not my son.
Yeah, right.
Who is he? And you know, there's a few people that were fortunate enough to have parents like that they went back and they
identified it.
Got saved and had good parents to, you know, that were able to take them out of that environment. And not all of us were. And for me, it was like, okay, I just went in deeper and deeper. So that lasted for about, 2.5, 3 years.
That's a long time, mate.
Yeah. And I didn't work a great deal. Like I was in and out of work. I was trying to finish my apprenticeship. But man, it gets hold of you. Anyone that's saying drugs, you know, obviously, you know, people are like, oh, how do you get addictive to it and stuff like that? Man, it just catches, you just wake up one day and you're just like, okay, that's it. Like it's just such a it's a crazy thing, man.
So when you took this, intrigues me, this stuff, because I've never been involved in that lifestyle, thankfully, fortunately for me. Is it sort of the thing like that's the first thing you think of when you wake up? You're like, right, I've got to hit.
It's and that's why I'm super open to speak about it. Not many people speak about it as well, and like even a guy in my position, you know, having a doing what I do in the community, being open and speaking about this stuff, a lot of people see it as a bad thing. Oh, you can't be saying that you used to do that. And
I don't know about that. I don't know if I buy into it. I mean, people would say, I don't know if I buy into that, because someone, you want someone giving you advice or helping you a success story. Someone who's been through the shit and can identify that and then's coming and gone, well, you know, I know. I've been there.
Yeah, that's
lots of those guys. You're coming from experience.
Yeah, I come from experience of everything. Like,
which is everything.
That's what I say to everyone. I'm like, if I'm telling you something that's from experience, that's it. Like, I'm not trying to be a professional, whatever, drug addict healer. I'm just saying, hey man, I've been smoking ice for a long time.
Yeah.
And I wasn't doing it willy nilly. I was giving it a good old crack. So like, I can tell. And now
for Australia.
And now I was trying to make the Australian team. So
yeah, good.
And now I'm so far from that. I don't drink or anything that, there's a big gap between it. Yeah, man, it's just like every day, like, we were partying. I was, I lived in this house where we were just getting on benders flat out. Like, there's no tomorrow.
Yeah.
And man, I just remember it got so bad. Like, I'd have guys knocking on my window and shit in the morning, like my best mate and stuff, asking me, man, like trying to wake me up because he needs a point to go to work.
Fuck.
And I remember a day I was driving to work, and this happened quite a bit. And I would drive through the hospital, and you would go, there's like a Sharps box there where you could get needles from.
Yeah.
See, I smoked ice. A lot of other guys that I was kicking it with booted it up, shoot it up with needles and shit. So, and I remember driving to Gladstone to go to work, and every morning I'd pick the guy up and would drive through the hospital and put some $1 coins in a little box, and it would give you a Sharps pack, which is a needles pack, and he would shoot up driving to work. And I just was...
Isn't that strange that that's normal?
It was.
Wasn't that strange that you found that normal?
It was so normal for so
someone did that
long.
next to me. I'm like, what the fuck are you doing?
Like, it
I'd
was
be
just
freaking
normal.
out. Yeah.
I'd get a pie and shit.
Yeah.
And like, he'd be saying, "Oh, can you pull up?" Because obviously he's shaking around. He's trying to smash this needle in his arm. And for me, that was just so normal. But I had a day, and I was like, "What the fuck are you doing, man?"
Yeah.
I was like, "This is not okay. Like, this dude's been up for a long time. You're driving to work.
Yeah.
He's shooting up ice in the car. You're driving there every morning, and he's taking some $1 coins out of the middle of your center console to buy some picks so he can shoot up on the way to work." And I was, this is not cool. And you know what? There's a few low points like that really woke me up. Yeah, man, I was doing all kinds of shit. It was dark old days. Like, the paranoia that you get off that stuff.
Yeah.
Is hectic. Like, it's not. Yeah, like, I imagine, like, I don't know if you've ever had a big night or whatever, and you woke up the next morning, you're a bit anxious and stuff like that. Your anxiety can kick in a little bit. It's like that times.
I just get all disappointed in myself.
Yeah.
What have you done?
You're like, what did I say last night? And what conversations did I have? It's like that times about 100.
You start texting people like,
hey,
we all good?
Yeah, we all good. Yeah. How was last night?
Yeah.
Yeah, man, it was a crazy ride, hey. You don't even realise it. Like, you think you're all that in a bag of chips when you're smoking crack. That's it. Like, no, like, people think they're Superman. I was paranoid. I couldn't hold a relationship. I was weird. Like,
hold a job?
Not a job. Kind of. I was fortunate enough to have some good people around me. Yeah. But, man, I went through that. It was dark ass days, man. It was darkest days I've ever been through, for sure. Yeah. Obviously, anyone that's gone to that level is fucking, you're at the, you're scraping the bottom of the barrel, really, man.
Yeah.
And actually was fortunate enough to meet a guy, James Deacon. Was actually at a party too, kicking on.
Yeah.
And that's where I got a job. We were at the back one day. It was on a Monday or Tuesday or whatever, and we had this balcony. We had to put this roof on. We were still partying from the night before, and anyway, he's like, "You want to throw this roof on?" And I end up getting up there, and I threw these roof sheets on and did this roofing job for him. Obviously still drunk. Yeah. And he's seen that I could work, and he's like, "Sweet, do you want a job?" And practically from there, if it wasn't for him and me doing that, he offered me a job in Gladstone. And like 4 weeks later, after that, I went to Gladstone. But if that little moment there didn't happen, I'd still probably be there.
Really?
Yeah, that's how lucky I got, I guess. Because if that didn't happen, I wouldn't have got a job at all. I would have just stayed doing whatever it is that I was doing. Yeah, I went to Gladstone, ended up cleaning my act up. It was far enough away from Rocky that I could separate myself. So I went through that, and just to be able to get out of that circle, it was just enough, hey. Like, to be able to. It is
the company you keep, though, isn't it? Like,
man, it's everything, hey. Environment is everything. You want to
everything.
You want to stop smoking ice, stop hanging out with ice smoking people. Yeah. That's it.
I watch some of those shows on like Netflix and things. You see the people who getting out of like rehab. Yeah. I'm gonna go live back with my husband. Oh, is he still smoking ice? Yeah, he is. Yeah, well, there's a high chance that you'll probably, they just say to them, well, this probably isn't right. And it's just, it is the company. Like, I heard that quote about, well, not a quote, but I heard the fact that you're the sum average of your 5 closest people.
Definitely.
And I always try and like tell people I know that. Like, I'm like, look at the people around you. Like, if you don't have respect for those people, there's a high chance people don't respect you because you're, you know.
Yeah. I get a lot of people reach out and ask me like, oh, how did you quit? Or, you know, how did you break that stigma? And said the first thing you do is just cut everyone off. That's it. Like, it's easier said than done. But if you want to make the change, that's what you have to do.
Yeah,
that's it. You're not better than anybody. You don't put yourself above each other or anyone. But you just have to say, hey, you guys are not for me right now. Like, I could go back to that circle right now and have a beer and shake hands with them, whatever. There's no way I would ever go back to smoking crack.
Yeah,
smoking ice. So I know it's just not good for my health, mentally, emotionally. Like, but at the time,
I agree.
I agree. Yeah, there's probably a few nodding heads right now. But obviously at the time you don't know. You don't know. You're just a young dude. I didn't know what it was doing to me, what it was doing to my friends. No one trusted me. No one wanted to have any time for me, and it was it was a crazy time, hey. Like, there's some shit happening, like some not so nice things, like people were freaking taking each other's money, and just it was
because it doesn't really become a, like, you know, you lose loyalty, you lose like any sort of humility you have, you lose any sort of ethics, don't you? Because it just all becomes
it's just
finding that next.
Yeah, that's it, man. That's it. I was just, you know, I was ticking up shit everywhere. It was just, man, it was getting out of hand real quick, hey. And I was just this young dude that didn't know what the hell he was doing. He just wanted to get high. That's it.
So then you got pretty heavy in the construction industry after that, and
so I was in Gladstone. Ended up making a name for myself there. I guess I was like roofing for a long time, but I just was like, oh, it could always work like there's no tomorrow. Coming from the shearing sheds, being able to go to construction and stuff like that, I could work all day. And I ended up working there, getting really good at it. They put me in a couple of leadership roles as like leading hands and then management and stuff like that. Worked in Gladstone for a while, built myself up, cleaned myself up quite a bit. Didn't drink for a while, and eventually I got sick of it, and I left. I left because I was like, you know what, this isn't for me, and I wanted to move to the Gold Coast. And I actually
the promised land.
I actually quit my job one day, and I had a bit of a falling out with one of the main supervisors at work, and I remember the day I walked in there, I was like, look, man, I'm out of here. Give him my laptop and shit and the keys to the car, and I'm out of here. And he's like, oh, well, don't come back. I was like, brother, I ain't coming back. You know, and I made that decision then. I went home. I remember I had this, you know, stride in my step, because I was like, you know what, I'm going out on my own. Decided I was moving to the Gold Coast. Knew nobody here at all. And people were like, what are you going to do? I was like, I'm going to start a construction business. Never had a business before. No one in my family had a construction business. Didn't have anyone to mentor me. And I was just this young guy from the bush that was just gung-ho, just come to the Gold Coast. And it was really good. You know, I worked hard. I got a lot of jobs and stuff like that. But at the same time, the Gold Coast environment, you know what's open every night? Something. You know,
it's always something to do.
There's always something to do. And for me, I actually got straight back into freaking doing coke flat out. I was just packets all the time. You know, and I just went from one addiction to clean myself up to another.
That's such a common theme, though, isn't it? Like, people, I think you got to, if you have an addictive personality, which sounds like you do. You can
kinda.
Kinda. You can. It's so easy to fall into that, and you can either go a bad one or a good one. And like, obviously, exercise, the men's medicine, things like that. That's a good addiction to be part of. And if you can transfer it in the right position, if you transfer your addictive personality into the right instance, they're dangerous people to be around, because they're just going to get shit done.
Oh, that's what man, they nicknamed me Mr. Dangerous for a long time, because I just do shit, you know, like if you just, we're going to do this, I'm going to get it done. Man, and I end up coming to Gold Coast, went for all that stuff as well, but man, and another thing why I love men's medicine so much as well, it's taught me a lot of values about relationships and family. Which was one thing that I couldn't hold down in, like, when I went to the Gold Coast. I had like 3 partners here or whatever, maybe 4. And I was just that guy, I was just trying to be a fuckboy, hey? And it just went, I couldn't hold a stable relationship at all. And, you know, I had a construction business, whatever. That was going good, but my personal life was going shit. You know, and it was just like, there just wasn't this balance. I was trying to make money, but I wasn't happy at home. And man, it just like put me in this space where I had to... I actually had to sit down on one day, and I had, like, I think it was the 3rd girl that I had dated or whatever, and just didn't work out, and all 3 of them said the same thing. And I was like, okay, all 3 of these women can't be wrong. I said, it must be me. I said, it has to be me.
Yeah.
Surely it has to be me. And I just decided from that day on, the woman I was seeing at the time, Sherry, shout out. And I said, look, I'm going to have to sort my shit out. Hey, like, this can't keep happening. I'm just going to repeat cycle here. So, come to Gold Coast, construction business, and the whole party lifestyle in Gold Coast was obviously, it has its goods and its bad, shaking hands, meeting people was awesome for business and stuff like that. But I just realised that I thought that it was normal for business owners and Gold Coasters to go out party every weekend and freaking do packets, which was, what I thought was just normal lifestyle here.
Yeah.
But obviously it led to a lot of toxic relationships and not doing so well in life and making a lot of bad decisions. So, yeah, man, it's just
it's a big polarity from like construction working, early mornings, late nights, and then going to the weekend and just doing a number on yourself.
It's just all hands on deck, man. Hey?
Yeah. That's a hectic lifestyle, though.
Yeah, so that's, man, I ended up just had to just drop all the bullshit one day, hey? And that's why I just went in so hard on personal development and, obviously men's medicine, which is, we work with a lot of, people that are not doing so well mentally. And, man, I just had a day where, I had my uncle pass, actually, and it was suicide as well. And man, I just come to this stage where just things were just happening. I was like, you're put in a position here where you actually you can do something about this, or you can just coast off and keep going where you're going. And I just had to stop myself. I was like, look, man, I'm going to do something about this as well. And that's obviously when, not long after that, men's medicine was formed and found as well. So that's why I've gone hard into it ever since. And yeah, like even like in the construction industry as well, like I was seeing so many guys in the construction industry take their life.
Yeah,
as well, and like young dudes, and it just startled me. Hey, I was like this young dude, he's taken his life, he's died, and I was like, man, he's like, it's not that bad. Like, I thought so. It's not so bad, but I'm like, what's wrong here? So I couldn't fathom it, and that's why I've decided to just dive into it so hard, and just try and make as much change as I can.
That's the heavy thing though. If you're not that way inclined, like I've never been in a position where I felt like that was the correct result.
Yeah.
But you sort of can't really understand it, eh? You think, fuck, why would you go down that road? But, geez, I always used to think suicide and things like that were a very selfish out.
Yeah.
And I used to, like,
I did too, man. I was
despise people that would do it. Like, I'd be pretty hard on them. Yeah. But then when you start to realise it's a mental illness, or like it's something, or like they actually genuinely believe in themselves that they're actually doing the right thing.
Yeah.
And then when you start to understand and be a bit more... less.
Oh man, empathy is what it's taught me, man. Because I used to be the same as well, coming from the country background, like construction and stuff is like hard, nah, man. Like, get your shit together. Like, like, what are you doing? And I just never understood it fully. And then it just kind of dawned on me one day. I was like, man, I had a series of events and people obviously take their life around me, and I was like, man, what's going on? I was like, surely this, these guys have got good jobs, they have families and stuff around them, and I just couldn't understand it. So I was like, you know what, I'm have to do something about this and change it as much as I possibly can. That's why I've just been gung ho at it ever since. But yeah, man, it's a hard thing to fathom as well, especially if you've never been on that side. I could say definitely I've been on that side. At the time though, I didn't understand it. I was just obviously high on drugs and alcohol, and I didn't understand what was going on with my mind. I was paranoid. But yeah, for me, it's about support as well. Like, I didn't have any support, whether it was just solid information. Like, the people that I had given me support at the time they were on crack too. So I was like,
do you think, so you, when you're saying you didn't have support, I hear that.
Yeah.
But do you think there would have been people like, so I believe there's a difference between support. So you felt like you had no support, and you probably felt like that around you.
Yeah.
But do you think if you went to people and knocked on the door and said, hey, I'm in a real bad shape here.
Yeah.
Because people can't support if they don't know you need support.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah. Definitely.
So you said you didn't have support, and you probably 100% felt like that. But I'm sure, I even know, like, for people, I think, well, surely there's someone in your life that if you went, and even more so now, where even like someone like yourself, like I could go around saying, oh, no one support me, but I know that if I made a phone call, I'd have someone there to support me.
Yeah, definitely. There would have been someone to help.
So you can almost like decide for yourself that I don't have the support.
Yeah, it is a conscious decision to say that, but everyone has someone that'll help you, man.
I know it's a lonely feeling, and I do know that. It is, but
and it's a hard one, man. Hey, like, it's
especially with movements like yours around now.
Yeah.
there's like they're going to do what they got to do to help you.
Yeah,
like,
that's what I mean.
They're not going to turn you away.
Yeah, no way. And that's it, man. And just so many people think that they're alone. Like our events, man, like people come there. There's like 40 to 50 men come there, and it's like a aha moment.
Yeah.
Where they all realize they're like, oh shit, we're all got the same problems.
Yeah.
And it's like they all just drop the shit and they're like, okay, we're all here for the same reason. You know, obviously we're struggling with things, you know, whether it's family, partners, relationships. And, you know, after that, man, it's just I guess a level of vulnerability that they're able to show.
Yep.
And that's the main thing for us. People being able to open, because as males, man, we're not good at conversating. Like we can talk shit all day. We can sit here all day. I'm fine with that. But I guess when you're dropping into our heart and emotions and feelings and what's really going on, that's a hard topic for a lot of men to navigate. Even for myself being in this space, I find it hard at times as well.
Yeah.
But man, no one really teaches that shit. My old man didn't teach me any of that shit, like how to, you know, talk. See,
females are different too, because you listen to a female conversation when they're having a few wines, man, they get deep. They can get deep real fast.
Oh,
but man, like it's such like subsurface shit, eh? Like it's such like superficial stuff that
it's like, oh hey bro, how you doing?
Yeah,
good.
Yeah, good, really good.
Sweet. Yeah,
it's
awesome.
Like, yeah,
sweet. Bye.
It's like I had in here. I had a guy. I don't know if you've heard of Mike Campbell.
Mike Campbell, yeah.
The men's coach.
Yeah.
He opened my eyes to a few things. Well, like I had a couple of chats with him after the podcast. Weeks up to that, and his main message as well was like the biggest thing he finds is when he gets a group of guys together, everybody goes there thinking that they're basically in the worst shape. Yeah. And they go there thinking, oh man, I'm like, no one's dealing with the shit I'm dealing with. Yeah. And they sit down and have like a group talk. And it's like, oh man, that dude's...
It's like a click, man.
I've thought that straight, like, you know.
It's such a... You know, these guys think they're all alone. They're doing these things by themselves. Everyone's trying to do the lone wolf thing. Yeah. Even me, I see these guys come to our events and they walk in and they give you a hug and I'm like, or they say, you know, hello, and they just like, I can just feel it, like they're just off a little bit. Yeah. By the end of the day, they're trying to pick you up and shit and hug you and say thank you. And you know, once one goes, they all tend to go. Yeah. And it's like, that's what we do. We set the environment to make it safe. It's okay. You don't have to like put on the tough dude act. You know, everyone has bullshit, you know, and everyone goes through it. Everyone, but they don't. Everyone, you know, not everyone's talking about it on social media and stuff like, oh, it is now maybe, but you know what I mean. It's once they all get there and they feel safe and secure, man. So okay, it's all systems go. You know, a lot of people, it's a lot of emotion and stuff at our events, and a lot of people would look at it and go, that's a bit off-putting. You know, it is a bit.
I can see that.
It is. Oh man, 100%.
But only because. The only reason I don't actually look at it and think it's off-putting. Yeah. I look at it and go, well, that's heavy. Yeah. I know that, like,
it's heavy.
It gives me anxiety to be like, oh shit, I've got a lot of stuff that I could probably talk about in there.
Yeah, that's it, man. And
because it's impossible. Like, have you got kids? You got any kids?
No kids, man.
See, once you have kids as well, if you're going to have them, you know, you soon realise, like, all of your it's like a ripple effect. You drop a little pebble in the pond and it just ripples out. Yeah. So if I say one thing, they'll remember that one thing, and then it'll manifest itself over time, over years, and then it'll show it rear its ugly head 3 years down the track, and you didn't even remember it, or you didn't think that there was an effect. Yeah. Not there's any sort of like bad things happening, but even a little thing I might say about, you know, hurry up. Oh, you told me to hurry up that day, and it's almost like. It's almost, and because children, especially the younger the better, they have such little stuff clogging up their mind, like you and I have. Yeah, we got so that they remember so much more things, and they absorb so many more things. That's why I reckon they're such sponges. Yeah. Is because they literally have nothing else to absorb but what you tell them. Yeah. And then I heard a lady on the radio one day, and she was a single mother of 4, and they were praising. I think they gave her a prize or something, or someone put her name forward for a prize, and she got, let's say, free passes somewhere. I forget what it was, but they said, oh, you're doing a really good job raising your 4 kids. She goes, honestly, I'm just trying to raise kids with the least amount of baggage possible. And I remember thinking, that's a real, like, straight down the line way of saying I'm trying to raise good people. What she's trying to do is going, everybody's going to have something that's affected them through one way or another. She's like, I'm just actively trying to take as many away as possible. You know, and I remember thinking, fuck, that's a crazy way of thinking about it, but it's actually very, very accurate, because everybody's going to have it, and the sooner you accept that you have some sort of baggage in your life, the better, because it's unavoidable. Yeah. Oh, hell yeah, man. Yeah. Like, you're never going to avoid it at all. And it's just about teachers, everyone involved in your life. Yeah. Friends, bullying, it's unavoidable. It's unavoidable, and it's just,
I guess just the correct education is really important. Like for us, we don't try make you do anything.
Yeah.
We can take you to the water hole. If you want to drink, you can drink.
Yeah.
That, for us, it's like we're not trying to force anyone to be any way or a certain way. As we like say, come as you are, man.
Yeah.
As well. Like if you want to come there and your shit's a bit messed up and you're not all there or whatever, that's all good.
At least you
like,
came.
That's okay. Like we always say, like one of our mottos is challenge the unspoken rules.
Yeah.
And it's like people were like, oh, you know, I can't be like this or I can't do that. And I'm like, who said that, man? Yeah. Like we're all held down by these imaginary rules that are cloud rules, as I like to call them. Like society has got these expectations that no one really governs. Like they're just from social media. I'm like, man, I've had.
Geez, we're finding a lot about it with this COVID stuff, isn't it? Like all the stuff you're meant to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, it's like, who said that?
Yeah.
Told you to do that. Yeah.
That's like so many guys. Like, you know, I have conversations with them. And they're like telling me these things. I'm like, bro, who made that up?
Yeah.
They're like, you know, you can't go to jail if that. Like that's not a rule. Like just you can go live your life, bro. Like go enjoy yourself and. Man, that's what I try to preach anyway. Like, live your life, enjoy it. I mean, you don't have to do what everyone else does. If you're a little bit weird, you're a little bit out there, you're not, like, you don't have to fit into the box. And that's where people, I guess, get held down and restricted because they're a little bit outside the box and they're trying to fit in. And that's where they have to put on the mask, they have to try to pretend to be someone they're out. And eventually that gets tiring.
Yeah, real
Whether it's in a relationship or a friend's circle. Even me, man, like I did that for so long because I was a little bit confused. I grew up in Quilpie, country town. My parents are from New Zealand. I sound Aussie and you know what? I would go to all these circles and groups. I'm like, I didn't really get along with the Cuzzy Bros. Yeah. Because I sounded the way I was, and I didn't know I didn't know how to speak Torea or anything like that. So I didn't understand. And then I'd hang out with the Cowboys, but they were like, who are you? Like, So I never really thought I belonged anywhere. And at the end, like, you know, full story, I end up thinking, I'm like, man, I don't have to belong to any circle. You know, I got me, I'm all good. Home is always here. And I can roll, you know. And that was so confusing for me as a kid as well. And I always explain to people as well, like even for myself, like I'm from a generation where like my mother and father came to Australia obviously to seek better, you know, better work, better things. So I guess as far as the cultural side of things goes for me, you know, I wasn't fortunate enough to grow up with the culture in New Zealand or anything like that. So even going back there as a kid, I got a lot of shit. Yeah. Because like, who's this freaking Aussie dude? Like, you know, it's a Heka name, you know, it's just, it was kind of hard, man. So, you know, I just had to own it eventually. And I'm like, look, man, that's just what I'm blessed with. And
it's funny how you say your parents came over for opportunity. Yeah. And then they go all the way out there. You're like, man, could you be further away from opportunity if possible?
Yeah, I asked my old man, so I'm like, legit, in Quilpie, and then the next town is Eromanga. It's the furthest town from the sea in Australia.
Really?
I'm like, what happened? I'm like, why did you go out here? Like, were you trying to run away from someone? It was just like, what the hell?
You're like, opportunity, well,
could you choose anywhere else other than that place? Because, I'm like, as far as like red dirt goes, Quilpie's got the red dirt. It's just, there's nothing out there. You go from New Zealand where it's nice, luscious green to no trees and red dirt. I'm like,
I think in New Zealand you can't be any more than 140k from the ocean, no matter where you are.
Yeah, I think Eromanga is 1200.
There you go.
I'm like, man, it's crazy. Hey, so going out there, I've been so fortunate. Hey, country, I love the country. I never take that place away from me. Hey, it's a big part of my foundations where I grew up. You know, growing up in the country, the values, you know, the way people are brought up out there. It's that's served me well in today's business world, I guess, like that whole mentality that they carry through, you know, just, you know, shaking hands, saying hello to people, always being kind and stuff like that. So I love growing up there. It's taught me so much.
There's like a weird little transition, if you grew up in the country. I grew up in a smallish town. Yeah. Not really, Hawke's Bay, but...
In Hawke's Bay, yeah.
Small enough.
I know Hawke's Bay. Yeah. We've been there and done some work.
Yeah, it's a wicked spot. But, like, it's weird in a sense from where you're from because you can get country values. But at what point do you utilise them somewhere else? Like, at what point is it the best time to actually get away from that and experience different things and realise that... Because what you think's normal is not normal when you move to a place like the Gold Coast or Brisbane. You might get in here and go, well, everyone's quite rude here, isn't it?
Oh, man, I thought everyone was an asshole.
Yeah.
Because I still do it today. Yeah. And I say hello to everyone. I'm like, hey man, morning. Yeah, even when I first come here, I'm driving around, I was giving everyone the wave. I'm like, man, my hand's gonna get sore. Like it took me a while to adjust, but I still keep those values. I say hello to everyone, man. I'm walk past it, so man, hey, how are you? How you doing? You know, and those are. That's not, you don't get those values.
This dude's on drugs.
Yeah, I'm like, this guy, hey. You know, and that's paid off for me many times as well. Like heaps of people have even come up to me, and I've been approachable then. You know, even in the space that I work in, it's being approachable is really important because you're helping people, and if you're like this shut off door and no one wants to talk to you and stuff like that, and you're not open. Man,
it's an energy about that too.
Yeah,
like you can tell when someone not interested in talking to you.
Oh hell yeah. And I'm not always open to talk to people.
I was gonna say I do that sometimes. So I'm like, just leave me alone.
Yeah, I'm a massive introvert as well, but I'm also an extrovert in many ways. Like there's times like I will just sit at home and do sweet nothing. Like don't talk to me. I don't want to turn my phone on, and it's just like chill, do nothing. So yeah, man, there's a good balance. Hey, you got to have that balance. But
So with like what you're doing now, what's a week to week with you? Like what are you doing week to week with this stuff? Like, is this your full time gig?
Man, it is my full time gig right now, and that's why I had to leave my construction business. Real big. I had to take the leap of faith, and I left the construction business, going from a business that makes money to one that makes nothing.
So do you sell it, or do you still got it, or is
I've still got it in the background. Nothing happens there though. I'm just slowly phasing it out. And I'll get rid of it. Maybe go back to it in a couple of years just to, you know, I still like getting a tool belt on and throwing some, you know, some studs around. But I had to make the leap, and I was like, look, I need to go full into this. It's taken away, like I couldn't do both, and that's all I do full time now. So pretty much a week for us is, man, we have our events on the weekend, Saturday, Sunday, whether it's in, you know, Gold Coast or it's either Melbourne, Sydney, usually where we've been traveling to. We're going to Perth in a couple of weeks as well, and then Newcastle and back to Sydney and Melbourne. So we just, like the whole COVID thing last year, I don't want to keep rabbing on about COVID. Everyone's probably over that shit net by now, but for us, like last year,
it's a reality though.
It's a bit of a hard run, and people don't actually understand. It nearly, obviously, like so many businesses, a make or break moment, and like the start of last year, what did we have? Fires? No, we had floods, fires,
then COVID.
So what happened was we're like, you know what? We booked this whole tour around Australia, like, you know, Perth, Sydney, Melbourne, all of them. We're just going to do this big tour, saved up this money. We're going to do this tour. Man, we had floods. Had to cancel it. Lost all the flights and shit like that because we're like, no way that would happen. It's a natural disaster, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, lost all this money. Like, you know what? We'll book another tour. Fires happened. Man, it just wrecked us. And we're like, you know what? I'm over this shit. We're going to go to New Zealand. Booked the whole tour in New Zealand. COVID happened. I was just like, man, and me and my business partner, Leno, we were looking at each other like, man, this is just like not out, like 3 times in a row. I'm like,
maybe this is meant to be.
Not a good start to the year. And so last year nearly broke us in, like everyone. And for me, I was like, if I can make it through COVID, I'm like, man, I can make business work anywhere. And we thrived through there. We had to pivot. We had to make the most out of things. But helping people's hard when you can't leave your home. So we had to improvise really quickly, trying to do online programs, trying to reach everyone. We had a lot of people reaching out for support. It's kind of hard, man, when you can't go out and do an event and help people like you usually do, and you have to say, oh, sorry, we can't help you. We can't do that thing. We can't come to your town. We can't do anything. So
and again, a lot of your power is having everybody together too in one room.
That's where it happens, man. It's like put everyone in one room. It's like that's where the magic. Everything's so face to face with us because it has to be connections.
Because on Zoom you probably don't get that. And if you got like 20 people on Zoom, you don't really get that feeling of being.
It's super hard, man. Like it doesn't transition well at all, and that's what we figured out. But I mean, that was a hard one for us, and you know, we come out of the back of it now. But man, it's paid off. Hey, I'm like, now we're on a roll. We've been able to travel everywhere this year, and things are really moving. We're going as a charity, so for us, it's, you know, by the end of the year, it'd be really nice to have some really big events in town. And for us, it's about building a hub, and in the Gold Coast especially, because you know, there's so many people doing well here, and there's so many people doing not so well. Just, you know, finding that balance. I feel there's so many people that are doing well that want to help out as well. It's a tough subject too, eh? Because and some people think they're doing well and they're not actually, or it's hidden behind something else. Yeah, man. I know so many guys that are like doing so well in business. They're like, I'm doing so well, and I'm like, how's home? Oh no, what? It's not good at all.
Balance is that word, eh? Like I know that with what I do, and it's you can feel like I say to my wife, I'm like, fuck, I felt like I was on a rocking horse today. Like I looked like I was moving, but nothing was happening, and then you know, you can feel like you're just actually not. You feel like you're just putting a little bit of polish on everything. Nothing's actually getting your full attention.
Yeah.
Family, work.
Yeah. What are your questions like for me anyway? What do you think some of the like younger youth or generation struggle with these days? Because this is a question I ask to most people. You know,
what they struggle with.
Yeah, like if there's anything that stands out to you that like I guess the younger generation today would struggle with. Because it's interesting to know. Because I go to a lot of different circles and stuff like that. And I would
say it'd be keeping up.
Yeah. With
the Joneses, keeping up. Yeah, I mean, you know what that term means, but I would say I hate to say social media because that's the obvious one, but I think that a lot of people, and it's not just teenagers, it's everybody. See, social media is like Sports Center. You know, you see the highlights. Yeah. That's all you see. You don't actually see. Very few people will post all the shit that goes wrong. Yeah. Like I almost felt like, because I've got a plumbing business, right? I almost felt like starting a page of all of our fuck ups and just being like, hey, this fucked up today, fellas. Check this out. You know, and just so people can look and go, oh, that's refreshing.
That's okay.
You know, and like, so I think that for me, from the outside looking in, I would say it's the external pressures from things that aren't actually true. And you got to keep up with that.
Yeah.
Imagine trying to keep up with something that isn't actually realistic. That'd be hard.
Hard game. That'd
be hard to do. Because it's almost impossible.
It is
impossible.
And
all those people who look like they got their shit together, like you just said, you see a lot of businessmen that look like they got their shit together. You go home and it's a toxic relationship. It's an awful thing, and everybody can put on a facade. Everybody's an actor in some way or another in their life.
Yeah.
And so I think that never more have we been able to buy into the good stuff and not necessarily the bad stuff.
Yeah, and that's it. Everyone's getting tricked
hugely.
Yeah. I
still get tricked. Like I see businesses in my industry. I'm like, oh man, they're doing well. You speak to them and they're like, oh fuck, this is wrong and that's wrong.
Lost his job. This one, yeah. This one, I lost this much on that job. This clients and shit like that.
Exactly.
We all have our own struggles, and even me, like my partner, she does social media.
Yeah.
And since meeting her, I'm pretty ruthless. I'm just like, I call her on her shit. I'm like, babe, nothing has to be perfect. Stop making everything look like perfect. You're teaching people to try have everything like their shit together all the time. I'm like, that's not real life. And I always say to people, I'm like, anyone with an iPhone can make their life look good.
Yeah.
You know what? Not everyone can live it in real life. Yep. That's where it matters. That's for me. Your social media presence, for me, it's good. I can judge it and I can get a gauge on you, but who I meet in real life and who I shake hands with, I'm like, that's the bit that matters to me. I don't care about your social media presence. I'm like, the actual person I shake hands with, that's what matters to me.
That's right, yeah.
And that's where these people get this false imitation, or like they get confused, or they see someone and like, I want to be like that person, I want to be like that person. I'm like, man, they're just giving you the highlights all day. I'm like, no one's all posting the shit stuff. I'm like, you gotta remember they have struggles as well. And it's this constant.
If something looks good, that took them 5 takes to get there. You know, like that didn't just walk through the door and everyone would go, hey. It didn't work like that. Like
they didn't just, and everything's so edited and shit these days. And
because you can see some profiles, and like you look through them and you're like, everything's this is a show. Yeah. There's nothing realistic about this.
Yeah, this is not a real life thing.
This is a show here. And like, more power to them. I'm all for it. Like if that's your thing, and you make like, go for it. But as long as I can identify in my mind what that is.
Yeah.
And like I've got daughters.
Yeah, it's hard, hey. That's the thing I'm struggling with.
That's tough because you see them actively imitate what they see and what they think they should be doing.
Yep.
And that's alarm. Every time I see it, it's alarm bells for me. I think, fuck, I want to.
You're like, shake.
I want to be like, hey, just so you know, that's not realistic. Hey, like, you need to, let's bring it back to here.
Yeah. I was like that too. Even when I come to Gold Coast and I see all these fitness people and stuff like that. I didn't know nothing about that shit. Yeah. And I'd be out there party and I was like, that's it. I'm like, man, they're like fitness people. I'm like, they're doing lines with me.
Oh, that's
I'm like,
yeah.
Shit. I'm like, okay, like, and then I'll see them on
the vegan
Monday.
yoga instructor.
Yeah, I'm like,
but in the weekend they're doing lines in the bathroom. Yeah,
and I'm like looking at them like, and then they post up a photo on Monday. I'm like, man, we were on the piss.
Health and wellness.
I was on the piss with him last night. Like, I was like, that can't be true. And then like, obviously, I just never understood it. Like, I only started using social media a couple of years ago, but before that, I was just doing my own thing. But yeah, man, that lifestyle's. I think it's starting to come to a bit. Yeah, that's sweet.
That's right.
That's all good.
Where's she going?
Yeah, man.
Yeah, the audio's still going, eh?
Yeah,
cool. I only can see my face.
Only your face.
Yeah.
The money maker, hey.
The money maker. If I don't know about that.
Yeah.
But that's what's real, and I know social media is a real easy target for that. But I think that's such on such volume, and every single person has it, or the access to it.
Yeah.
And it's not even just social media, it's also just any type of... Social media is the best because that's the best way to absorb information, best and fastest. It's like adverts, it's what people are doing with their lives, especially like in the Gold Coast, Australia, and people seem to have a life that fuck knows how it's funded.
Yeah, fucks me too, man.
Yeah, you look at it and you go, this person seems to be at the beach all day, every day.
Yeah.
And like they might sell... one thing, I'll use a promo code. Like, what for? What?
Yeah.
How are you putting a roof over your head?
Yeah, that's what I never understood it, man. Like, legit, I come from the from obviously country to the Gold Coast. I was like, man, all these people, like, what are they doing? Like, take photos and shit. Like, someone told me that, like, these people are taking photos and getting paid.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, I don't know how to...
I'm not getting paid for my photos.
Yeah, I'm like, fuck. I'm like, shit, man. I'm like, I need to get paid for this shit too. So yeah, it is an interesting lifestyle. Even like OnlyFans and shit like that. Like, I see women like capitalizing on it, man. I'm like, go for that shit. If you're making money on it, why not? You know?
Well, I guess so. It's a...
I guess it's different if you have kids too, because then like if I had daughters and stuff, and then that was what everyone's getting into, I'd be worried in that aspect as well, because I see a lot of everyone's turning to that, like trying to friggin' make money off social content like that, and it's just like a money grab, and it's in everyone's face.
It's short-sighted.
Yeah.
So I think, and on the side, if that's what you want to do, I'm super open. Like, if that's what you want to do, I couldn't care. Honestly, couldn't care less. That's your thing. But I'll be worried in the sense that you got to try and explain that to your kids.
Yeah.
Because social media is... Everything that's put online is always accessible now.
It's always
everything you say now, like these things now, like
this conversation.
If something happens to me, my kids have got hours worth of content. They can look and go, oh, that's who he was.
My kids will see my ugly face.
Jesus talks some shit, but and I'm all for that. Like, that's cool too, because you are where you are at that stage, but. And I guess maybe in the future they can explain to their kids and go, look, that's where I was at that stage. Yeah. I didn't, it was this, it was that. I made really good money. I put this roof over your head, and that's the sacrifice I made. And if that's what you want to do, geez, that's on you. Like, cool, go for it. But that's what I often think about that too, like what I've got to try and justify.
Yeah, it's a hard one, hey.
Later.
It's like...
Because they look up to you.
Yeah, exactly.
And everything you say is,
Yeah, I had a real point like that as well, where... Even just in the space, I'd get on and just talk and shit on my social media, and then I had a few people come up like, "Hey man, what you said?" I'm like, "I really took that," and I had to stop for a second. I'm like, "Shit, people are actually listening to what I say."
Yeah,
and that's where I was like, "Okay, I need to make sure I'm delivering the right message here, because people are actually listening to what I say." I just thought I was just out there talking shit, having a good time, which I am, but people are listening, and
especially on a podcast, because you had a podcast too.
Yeah.
So that's a lot of time.
Yeah, a
lot of the ability for you. Like, we had a podcast last week or 2 weeks ago with a fighter, and we copped a little bit.
Yeah,
I copped a little bit. Nothing bad or anything of any substance. But I mean, it was me. Then I thought, I have to be real committed to what I say. Yeah, and if I'm going to say it, I have to be able to stand by it, and I'm going to make a mistake.
Oh, he wasn't happy with what you said?
Some of the... No, not at all. He was good. He was cool. It was just some of the listeners.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, it was a bit
man,
of a
you can ask
thing.
me anything too, P.S. Go as deep as you want.
But that's it. But it was just more like some of the things that happened in the past with this person. But it was like... And people feel like they need to tell you that they don't agree with what you say.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with that. And what I need to be okay with is the fact that I'm sitting here talking for an hour and a half, 2 hours, whatever long.
Yeah.
And I'm going to say some stupid shit at some stage.
Oh man, me too.
And it's like, and I'm like, fuck, I'm no different than anybody else. I just get on here and talk. I just, if you have a 2 hour long conversation with someone, geez, it's hard to stay polished for 2 hours without being like your authentic self coming out and how you are.
Yeah.
Like, if someone's a real tosser, you'll find out.
Yeah.
Talking to them for an hour.
Yeah, talking to them out. You're like, okay, this guy's weird.
10 minutes in, you're like, oh fucking hell, this dude. Yeah.
Yeah. Podcasting's hard in that aspect. I got a question, because I was curious of why the Smoko podcast. Is there a reason behind it? I love this, because I always do a thing. I used to just call it like Smoko chat.
Yeah.
And then when I was seeing it, I was like, the Smoko.
Yeah. So my thinking behind it was, so I've always listened to podcasts.
Yeah.
From as long as I can remember. Like, I like to think I was one of the early adopters. Like, I used to listen to geez, maybe 9 years, 10 years. You know, because I got sick of the radio. And do you know what I used to do? What started me on podcasts was I was bored driving because I used to do a lot of travel.
Yeah.
And I would put on Dana White. Used to have media scrums after a fight.
Yeah.
Right, and it would be there's a long-winded version of Why Smoko, but and he'd just go in and people would ask him questions for like an hour on a media scrum, and I'd put that on YouTube and I'd listen to that in my headphones while I was driving somewhere.
Yeah.
And it was just content because I got sick of listening to the radio, listening to the same songs, and I was like, fuck, this is boring. And I didn't think of Audible, the audiobooks wasn't out then, not that I know of. But and then I came across, I think it was Joe Rogan was probably the first one I came across, and I just started listening to that. But it was just the ability for me to listen all the time. And I genuinely feel like a lot of any self-education that I've taken upon myself has come from podcasts.
Yep.
Because I started to crave interesting things. So I'd listen to science ones, I'd listen to history ones, I'd listen to all sorts of ones, and I was like, man, I'm driving around or I'm digging a hole and I'm learning. Like I got excited by it. Like if I had to drive to Brisbane, I'd be like, that's all good, I'll get a good podcast and I'll just drive to Brisbane.
Yeah, same. That's how I got into it too. It's funny you say that because I was always just on the road working. I'd always have my earphones in listening because I can just absorb everything.
Yeah, absorb. And it's not like when you're working, like if I was doing like a bathroom or something, you're not absorbing 100% of everything, but it's background noise, and when you stop and actually stop doing the mundane shit or shit you have to think about. So anyway, I had an opportunity where I'd always I felt like I was good at giving advice to people, but I wasn't very good at heeding to that advice, right?
Yeah.
So I used to I got younger brother-in-laws, my wife's, and I'd always have advice for them.
Yep.
And I'm like, you got to do this, you got to put yourself out there, and I was like, you got to have a side hustle, you got to have something you do on the side. And I wasn't doing any of that myself. Or I wasn't, and I'm thinking to myself,
you're giving it all out.
Yeah, I'm like, you're giving a lot of advice for someone who isn't walking the walk, and I was like, well, I need to do something, and these would always appeal to me. And then I knew that tradies and guys like yourself and me, and I knew that they needed content.
Yep.
And I knew that I could give it a crack, and I thought, well, fuck, I'm going to try. And I knew Jace, whose studio this is, obviously. I knew him through sports, through grappling and that. And I just said to him, look, can I try it?
Yep.
And he's like, yeah, come on in. And then another friend of mine who was a plumber, we sat on, we had a good talk, and literally when I drove out of there, I rang my wife on the way home, and I said, this is what I want to do. This is what I want to do. Like, this is
good.
This is what I'm going to deliver, because and she's really she's passionate about me being passionate about it.
Yeah.
Like, she's passionate about wanting me to do it because she knows that it's like a way of breaking up the mundane.
Yeah.
And I like talking to people.
Yeah, so that's how I got into it.
Yeah.
I was like, look, man, I was going out having coffees with people, just talking, chatting. I'm like, look, and I'd see this person on social media. I was like, hey, bro, what are you doing? Like, come have coffee, blah, 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 have a chat. And I'm like, I want to know who you are. Like, there's a story there. Like, obviously you got here for some reason. I just want to know. And I'm one of those people that likes to sit and observe and absorb whatever you've got to say, whatever you've been through. And yeah, man, I've just been at it forever. Hey, so
it's good. It's a cool, like, people don't have to listen.
Yeah.
Like, you're not forcing it to anybody. If you want to listen, hey, listen in.
But if you do, you listen in.
Yeah, listen in.
Don't you turn on.
So you're not doing? Are you doing yours anymore? You're not doing?
No, I've actually just switched it over. Me and my partner are going to do one, so I've had to rename it and rebrand it to make it a little bit more suitable.
Your name is borderline on my pet hate.
Is it?
Do you know what my pet hate is?
What?
People that say, if you know, you know.
Oh, yeah, in the
fucking
thing.
Oh, it annoys me.
IYK.
Because yours is out of it. Thankfully, you're out of it. But when people were like, they'll go to a spot and it's like a cool swimming hole, and they go, if you know, you know. I don't fucking know.
No, I don't fucking.
So it's like, it's the equivalent of being at school and someone telling a secret and then saying, I'm not telling you my secret.
Yeah.
Look, fucking tell me the secret.
Why'd you fucking post it?
Yeah, why'd you post it then?
Why'd you post it?
You're just
I don't know.
Yeah, you're effectively going, I know where this is and you don't.
Yeah.
Fucking, it annoys me.
Mine was like a thing. I'm like, well, if you don't know now, you know. Because
well, that's cool. So you're telling it. So you're the opposite.
Yeah.
But when it's...
And as people, I'd meet people and I'm like, man, no one knows that about you. Why don't you say that to someone? And they just never did. And I was like, man, come on, we'll have a chat. And you just tell me about that story, that how you got to where you are. And that's how I got into it as well. But yeah, me and my partner are doing one. So had to mix it up a little bit. I couldn't keep that same one. Obviously, she wasn't so friendly on the name, so I had to mix it up, man. We do. We're the same. Like we'll sit in our house and just talk for hours. I'm like, shit, man. Like, why don't we just get someone in and interview them and stuff like that? So yeah, just mixing it up like that's been awesome.
There's a lot of interesting people that are walking around you every day that you don't actually realise that what they do or where they've come from or what story they've had, and all it takes is you know, you look at some of the more popular podcasts, the really, really popular ones over in the States and that, all these people that nobody really knew about, but they go on a podcast and they talk.
Yeah.
And now they've got this massive notoriety just because they were able to be exposed.
Yeah, they got their story. And
their story out,
man, that's so important.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask you some questions about podcasting, if that's all good. What's one of the most hardest things about, like, interviewing someone for you?
Getting them here.
Is it? Really? Oh, I thought that was the easiest bit.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that is hard too.
It's not, because with volume, like, there's a weird... You don't know me to know whether I'm going to make this hard for you or not.
Yeah.
Or put you on the spot, or maybe talk about something that you don't want to speak about. Like, you're a pretty open book, which is cool.
You can go there as much as you want.
Some people aren't. But some people aren't. Some people are like, oh, I've got that. Like, and so they don't necessarily want to come and chat in, or before they'll be like, hey, I don't really want to cover this, this, and this, which I'm respectful of.
Yeah.
But actually making contact and proving that you're a legitimate source or a legitimate person to talk to, that's the hardest part. Because once you're sitting here, I'm good. I'm done. We're done. Like, I'm happy to talk. I'll talk to you. I'll come up with questions. I know a little bit about you.
Yeah.
And that's almost, sometimes I try not to know too much about the people, because I don't want to be like, oh, I actually knew that. I knew that. You know, you want to be surprised. But yeah, the hardest part is getting hold of people and proving to them that you are someone that they should, and not like, I'm talking more people with like a high profile. Yeah. Because they don't. Yeah.
Their time's
precious.
Well,
and I understand that, but it's also they probably just get bombarded by, you know, because I try and that's why initially I made it legitimate. We're in a studio, it's filmed, it looks really good, it's great content. Because I could just go to podcasts and I could just plug in my phone and we could have a microphone each, and that's still exactly the same thing.
Yeah.
But it's not as
inviting.
Yeah, that's right.
What happened to me as well. That's why I just did a studio straight away, because I went on quite a few podcasts before I made my own. I was like, not to discredit any of those guys or girls, but they just kind of had a shit setup.
Yeah, that's right.
Like, for me, I'm like, if you're coming to my podcast, your story is important.
Yeah.
So I'll make sure it's told right. The quality's good, the mics are good, and I want to make sure people understand it and they can deliver your message as well. So for me, that was one of my biggest things. And
I was on the same page. It had to be. It had to be legit from the get-go.
Delivery is it's like what you're saying is important, so make sure it's told the right way. Even, have you been on the other side of the podcast where someone's interviewing you since?
Not really. Similar.
It's hard. Because I did so many podcasts, and like I got to
I've
stage.
done a couple, but not
And I'm like I'm like used to priming people, talk. And I was doing that, and I was like, "Oh shit, man! I'm meant to talk the whole way."
Yeah.
And I stopped, and like he's like, "Hey, bro, you're meant to actually talk. You're not interviewing me."
Yeah.
I was like,
well, that's the thing, and that's what I try and stay away from, is the word interview too.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to. Like, I'll have some questions, me personally. I'll just have some things I think I want to cover.
Yep.
But I'll very much leave it to whatever it goes down. Yeah, because I don't like the best podcast, and everything is based on what I like. It has to be, because
I'm just interested in it.
And I'm interested in it. And if it's too, like, some good podcasts are interviews, and that's cool.
Yeah.
But for me, I like the ones where we could be talking about this next, and then we change and we go and talk about this, and it's like, sometimes that can be frustrating though, because you might be going down a subject and then I interrupt and go, "Oh, what about this?" And you go, "Oh, and off on this other one."
Don't worry, man. We can start talking anything.
Yeah, I know.
I'll go with it. Next minute we get 20 minutes in, I'm like, we started talking about donuts. Now we're over here.
See, I did another podcast with Trade Tools. We're doing them for a while.
Yep.
Over in Yatla, and I did with Brad. We were doing a couple, and it was quite funny because we just
another one.
We'd be interviewing people, and then we'd just start talking amongst ourselves. And the person we were talking to was like sort of just sitting there waiting. We were talking some shit about something. Like,
you just go off. On
go off track, and I was like, I could only be me, and so I just said to him, "I don't even know if this is what you want for a podcast, but I'm just gonna
chat, man.
I'm just gonna chat.
If you're listening, if not,
right. So,
we'll see what happens."
And that was half the fun. But it's a cool medium. I really love it. And I think it's that with more and more coming, you've got to. That means that guests and people, because you're relying on your guests. You know, like my thing is I want to talk to people, so. People obviously, they might get, I don't know, some people might get 10 offers a week for podcasts.
Yeah, that's true too, yeah.
So you got to separate yourself somehow, or find a way.
Yeah, man, just got to put yourself, I just ask.
Yeah.
Or mainly mine as well is like, I go and meet a lot of people and shake hands, so I just do it in person as well. Yeah. I'm like, hey man, you want to come on? And generally people are pretty good like that as well. So yeah, that's where I get a lot of my people as well, interviewing just like face to face. Hey bro, you want to come do a potty and stuff like that. So yeah, that's where
you got to put yourself in that position. You got to put yourself in that environment.
True. Yeah, socializing and stuff super important as well. Being out there, mingling and stuff, especially in the Gold Coast. It's there's a lot of people here, so you get out and say hello to everyone. You know, you're bound to run into someone interesting that you can interview. It's you're like, yeah man, let's get on a potty.
Yeah. So with your with this men's medicine as well, what's the plan moving forward for that? Like, have you got a forecast? I think I know you mentioned before you might get back into construction one day. Is that because you think that this has got capped, or that just to hold your attention?
For me, like if I do go back to construction, it's big because men's medicine is running at just consistently where I don't have to be there.
Yeah.
Ultimately, that's the goal.
Yeah.
I could be there just to oversee things.
Yeah.
But you know what? Right now, it takes my full attention. But where I see it going, and where I know it'll go, because I just work my ass off, and that's what happens, and y'all eventually get there, is having like a base everywhere in most capital cities in Australia, like you know, where we run functions and events and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I guess what we offer
so you don't have to travel as much, just more
and like have people in those spaces that are trained to be able to take people through the workshops that we offer and provide as well. So, you know, start building these bases everywhere. And then having like teams in every single capital city as well. That's kind of the main like goal, and being able to help people around Australia and New Zealand, like everywhere. Yeah. And that's obviously a big goal as well. But you know, it's at the moment turn it into a machine that it actually we can live off it, so that we can grow. Yeah. At the moment, it's just one of these things where we're just leapfrogging, because we never had the business plan. It was just like we're just going for it. We can help people. We didn't wait for all this funding and shit like that. We were just like, look, we're just going to go do the thing. And from us, like going as a charity, we can get some of our events funded and go from there pretty much. And build it up. You know, being able to create a community in every capital city is obviously the ultimate goal for us. Yeah. You know, because people need somewhere to go, need support. And yeah, man, it's just like, that's a mission in itself.
Because if you think about it, there's no, like the only options to go and see a counsellor.
It's not, man.
Not the only option now, but it used to very much was the only option, was like, and that counsellor had a stigma around it. Like if you have to go and see a counsellor, you got something wrong with you. Yeah.
And that's why we don't do our workshops inside. Like everyone says, we have a thing called a walk.
Yeah.
It's potentially a workshop outside.
Yeah.
And it's like, we do it outside because inside it's not really the right environment, especially if guys are struggling and stuff like that. We don't want to go sit in a room like, tell us what's going on.
Yeah. All these eyes looking at you.
Yeah. And it's not, I guess ours is not based on awareness. Like a lot of, I guess, people in the space, they go out and they promote awareness about mental health, about, you know, being healthy and talking, conversations and stuff. We're like action. Like we don't come to our events and we sit down and we tell you a bunch of our life stories and shit like that. No, we're action and stuff. We're doing like things like teaching you guys how to meditate, breath work, breaking you down a bit. Like we're just exercise involved. There's a whole series of things that we do to have to get the result at the end. Like it's all formulated in a way that we get an end result. And yeah, man, it's just like, we don't want to sit down there and just tell you how our lives were shit and now they're a lot better.
Yeah,
that's cool. And I had I went to so many events and stuff like that. And although that's awesome, I love the awareness side of things, but it wasn't enough.
Yeah.
I still left there. I'm like, I don't feel any better. I feel like shit still.
Yeah.
Yeah, I heard your story. Yeah, you're doing
awesome.
Good
now. Yeah.
Yeah, you were homeless and doing drugs 10 years ago. Now you got this job. I'm like, cool. I'm still feeling like shit.
Yeah.
So that for me, that was why I was like, there needs to be something different, and that's what we provide. We provide a different avenue. Like even like have you tried any breath work?
Yeah, sort of. I try and do the Wim Hof.
Yeah, Wim Hof.
I'll do that in the sauna sometimes. I have a sauna at home.
Yeah, like anything like
but then I almost pass out a few times.
Yeah, that's a bit hard.
Probably should be doing it in there. Yeah, I don't know if that's the right thing to do.
Yeah, you can do it in there.
Yeah,
it's just like those kind of avenues, especially if men like teaching like what emotions are, anger. You know, we always say like anger comes in, it should come out.
Yeah,
because usually what happens is it comes out at home.
Yeah.
Like they get home, they're being at work. You're probably seeing so many tradies, they're pissed off. They go home, they take it out on their partners and their kids and stuff like that, and they're in a shitty mood all night.
Yeah.
And you know, making guys understand what these things are. Because no one really told us that when we were younger. Hey,
no,
I don't know where. Like not for me. You know what anger is, what emotion is, and for us, just really educate and making it okay. Yeah. Like when I first got introduced to breath work, I was like, All good. I know how to breathe.
Yeah.
It's all good, bro.
I got the sorted. Have since day dot, mate.
Yeah. And I was just fortunate enough that I was a little bit more open-minded in a way, and had these people like, okay, I was like, whatever, these hippies can't be too crazy. I was like, give me that shit, give me a go. And ended up trying it. I felt it was a really good release for me, mentally, emotionally, and being able to like manage my mind and where I was at, stabilize myself was really good. Like tools like that, meditation, and I guess not that we make it cool, but making meditation and stuff like that like a little bit more mainstream, as where it used to be like so woo woo. Like if you do that stuff, you're like, you're a weirdo, like you're a hippie and stuff like that. So, or breath work or anything like that. But they're actually really good tools for men to use as well, obviously to manage their day-to-day stuff. So
what do you think with the people that come to your events, right? This is what would, like from the outside looking, this is what concerned me if I was in your position. What's the I'll put some context to this. So I look at mental health and mental illness as two different things, as you probably know. And the best way to do that, I can't remember who told me, but it was basically change it to fitness. Yeah. So you're either mentally fit or you're mentally ill. Like your illness is like something like a disease. Yeah. Whereas fitness is just, you're not fit. You haven't exercised enough. Yeah. How much is your so mental illness being something that's actually like a chemical issue, or something that people actually genuinely have an illness? Yep. And then like you can look at mental health and be like, I'm just not fit at it. I just haven't done any meditation, or I'm just a bit I'm not looking after myself, so my mental health is an issue with it. I just need to get fit again. Yeah. With my mental well-being. Yeah. How much of the people that come to your events or you see do you look and go, this is actually mental illness? Like I need to probably take this a little bit. I need to advise them that this probably is.
Look, I don't know if I've come across someone like that's come to one of the events that we haven't actually been able to help.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, no doubt you'd help, but you've gone, I think you need to.
Yeah. Oh, I don't know if I've had anyone like that come. I'm just trying to.
Certainly don't name names or anything, but I'm like, like totally. You look and go, Jim, he was, whew. But you look and you go, I think you need more than what we can offer. Like, I think you need to actually speak to, or maybe potentially medicate.
Yeah. I guess a lot of the people, I don't know if I've had someone in that place. I feel like a lot of the people that have come to us have been to psychs. Yeah. And psychologists and stuff like that and not had any results. Yeah, right. So we're catching the fringe side of things. People that actually have like a mental illness, a chemical imbalance and stuff like that are actually getting the right support. I feel there's all these people that is not for them. That's what we get. I don't think I've ever, and if we have, they've definitely been directed to the right place, which is a psychologist. Like if there's someone like that comes to our space, I'm like, look, man, I can't help you with this. Like for me, I'm like, a lot of people will try to give advice on stuff that they don't know shit all about. Yeah. Me, I know from experience that that's not good. Yeah. You can do more harm than what you think you are doing good. Yeah. So if anything comes up like that, I'm always look, I'm not the right person to see. I can give you an opinion and advice and point you in the right direction, but don't ask me about that. I don't know. Like people ask me about relationship stuff. I'm like, bro, do not ask me. So I'm not the right person to ask. Like
I can tell you what not to do if you're keen.
I've had 4 fucked up relationships. And they didn't last. So don't ask me about relationships. Yeah. And like that's what I guess where a lot of people come to us, because we realize there's a real big gap where psychologists, and I know psychologists too, they do an awesome job. Yeah. But no doubt. Not everybody. That's not for everybody. And there's this real big gap. And that's what we're trying to fill that gap. I feel like that gap's getting bigger and bigger as well. Like there's so many more people that are more open to this side of things like health and wellness. And for me, I don't think that anyone, like other than the people that are actually mentally ill, like diagnosed with something like that, a lot of the people that are in between are not, I don't like saying they're mentally ill. I think they're just misled or unguided. They don't have the correct tools. They're undereducated and actually what's going on in their body. That's mainly it. Most people are just going off course a little bit. Yeah.
But that's my issue. That's my big issue, is because the stigma around mental health is that you're ill. Yeah. When it should be, like I can tell you now, I'm not very fit at the moment. Yeah. But I can openly say that to you without any sort of, look at me and
you're
go,
not going to be like,
I'm like, I can't believe it. I just told him, like, you know what I mean? Like, but that should be the same for your mental. I should be able to say to you, I'm just not really mentally healthy at the moment. Yeah. Like, I should be able to say that, and in that way, and you go, oh, cool, man. Like,
that's all
you need to do, you need to start, here's what we're going to do. You're going to start jogging in the morning. You're going to start eating well. Walks. And so, like, and you're probably even working towards this, but I feel like if they differentiate that and get rid of that stigma just along the mental health space of it and just say, well, that's something you can be, because, geez, I don't reckon 90% of the population is mentally healthy.
No. Hell no.
And everybody should be, and it's probably the same for fitness as well.
Yep.
And physical health. So it should, you know what I mean? It should be able to be interchangeable. You should be able to admit, I'm not mentally or physically healthy at the moment.
Yep.
I'm working on that. And people go, oh, cool. That's great.
That's okay.
Yeah, that's great.
And that's a real, I guess for me, I'm like, that's what we want to change. Like, yes, we do work in, like, I guess people do put us into that category where we work in mental health space.
Yeah.
But for me, what we're just trying to teach people how to live their lives better. Yeah. Most people are walking around with their eyes closed thinking life's shit and they don't have it and they're ungrateful and stuff like that. You take a few of those things off, open up their mind a little bit, and you'll be surprised at what happens. Hey, they just think that life's all shit and then nothing's going their way. They just haven't been like given the right tools. Like,
it's almost like a well-being. It's my phone shouldn't turn off. It's a well-being thing.
Yeah.
As well, like, it's almost like that health word is, it gets tangled.
Yeah.
It's loaded. People don't feel like they can use it. I guess if you say your well-being, like, oh, my mental well-being is not good.
Yeah.
Maybe, or, well, we're working on people's well-being.
Yeah.
That's better, but like, and it's so weird that these noises we make with our mouth have so much power, and that they can really stuff people up.
Yeah,
and
man.
I hate that shit. Like,
and that's why, I'm like, you're not mentally ill, man. People go, I'm mentally ill. I'm like, bro, you're not mentally ill. You're having a bit of a shit run this month. Like,
just a bit unfit. That's
you
all.
haven't been eating good. You've been drinking too many beers.
Yeah.
And then your mates have been encouraging your relationship shit. But then instead of you going home, you're going out with your friends, and then you're ignoring it. Yeah. Like, you're not mentally ill. You're just making some bad decisions. Don't try to say that something's wrong with you and you're this person. Like, you've just been misled.
Yeah.
And that's it. Like, don't try to put yourself down in this category where you're mentally
because not only does it, you know, they're false diagnosing themselves.
Yeah.
They're actually you're actually sort of like belittling people who are mentally ill. Yeah. You're like, no, that's a whole different thing. Like, you're not part of that crew. Yeah. They're
just, guys and girls especially, just lack basic tools to manage their mental stability. That's it. Like for us, we don't ever try overcomplicate it. It's like it's usually just real simple shit. They're not communicating well. They're not looking after the eating right, or they're not like exercising. So this is like communication, exercise, and food. Like outside of that, like if you have those three stables, like you're doing pretty well in life. If you can do all three of those at an average pace, you're still going to consistently go through. Like you know,
so I got communication down. Yeah, I should start eating better and exercising.
Yeah, it's hard. It's a hard balance, man.
Yeah,
and that's what our I guess our stable thing is. It's community connection and culture.
Yeah.
You know, you bring the community together, which creates a culture, and the culture creates connection.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what. Yeah, it's just people are disconnected these days. Biggest probably one of the, I guess, three biggest things. Disconnected people are. They segregate themselves from everybody else.
Yeah.
Two, a lot of father-son breakdowns in a space, and then three is relationships. Their relationships, and then financials probably. Maybe the financials is at the front. That's usually some of the four biggest issues that we come across.
Yeah.
Mainly, they're all just side within those 3-4 things. Hey, like they all stem down to those 4 things.
I feel like people bury their head in the sand of a lot of stuff too. Like it all becomes insurmountable. You just think, oh, it's too much. Yeah. You know, like to approach it instead of going, right, I'm just going to work on this and then let these next ones fall in the line.
There's a lot of guilt and shame too. People feel like if something's wrong and they're not doing so well, oh, look, you know, there's a lot of guilt and shame around it. Oh, you know, I was doing well, now I'm not doing well.
Yeah.
So they're like, oh, well, people are going to look down on me now because at one stage they looked up to me. I'm like, man, every man has their day, hey? Yeah. Like you don't just always coast through life doing awesomely, or if you do, fucking kudos to you.
Yeah.
But you know, I didn't get here.
That's fake. That doesn't happen. You know it doesn't happen.
They're talking shit.
Yeah. They're either fucking good actor or they're just or it's just not happening. Yeah.
Yeah, like, man, we all have our trials and tribulations, and we all have struggles, and man, I get my ass kicked all the time.
Yeah.
People are like, oh, you know, you're always happy. I'm like, hell no, I'm not.
Yeah.
I had a shit day yesterday.
Yeah.
I got my ass kicked, but at the end of the day, I just accepted it, and I was like, you know what, I'm going to make tomorrow a bit better.
You have to have that in order to appreciate the good days. I don't think people understand that either.
Yeah.
You know, like, you're having a bad day, that's cool, because it'll be a good one. You know, it gives you an appreciation for that, and that's what I try and talk myself through. I'm like, tomorrow must be a good day. Yeah.
As old 50 Cent said, love wouldn't feel so good if it wasn't for pain.
Well, it's true.
So he was right on that one.
Spot
and I always say that you can only have so many shit days till you have a good day.
Yeah.
I'm like, man, there's something. I'm like, today was shit. And then sometimes I'm like, the next day was even shit. I'm like,
you're like, fuck, there must be something good brewing.
Like, something good's coming for me. It can't keep going forever. And I just like, okay, something's good's coming. Just gotta stay positive. Hey, that's it. Just having the right mind frame, and just, you know, not everything's gonna. I always say to myself, everything always works out for me.
Yeah,
it's my one thing I stick to. Even when things aren't going great, I'm like, you know what? Everything always works out for me. I've always come out the other side in the green. So I'm like, that's what's going to happen here. It's shit right now. But
see, people would look at that and go, be jealous of that.
Yeah.
But that's just something that everyone can start saying.
Oh, yeah.
Because you're reinforcing it to yourself. That's all you're doing.
Say it every time.
Yeah.
Like, there's been days just things have just not gone well at all. I look over my partner, I'm like, everything works out, darling. Yeah. It's all good.
Yeah.
You know, hanging in here. We still got each other. We got ourselves. I'm like, it's okay. Like,
I'm good.
Life will happen to us. And it's either teaching you a lesson, whether you can take the lesson and learn from it and keep going, or you want to stay there, and that's what. And I guess that's another thing as well, like people in our space. I guess if you're talking like trauma and people are, you know, in that, you know, not so well, they tend to want to live there.
Yeah.
I'm like, man, yeah, we go there, we do some stuff, but it's like, don't live there.
No,
like, we don't want to stay there. It's like, now, like, life's awesome. Like, open your eyes and keep moving. Don't try to stay there.
It's like a worth thing too. Some people don't think they deserve to not be in there. There's this weird. You know what's a weird transition is when you grow up a little bit and you realise that your parents were just grown up children. Yeah. You know, and then now I look at like how old I am now with my kids, and I remember I look back to how old I would have been when my parents were that age, same age as me, and you look up to your parents and think, oh, they've got everything together.
Yeah.
But man, they were still going through the same shit that I'm probably going through now.
Yeah.
Just they were just a little bit older.
Yeah.
You know, a little bit. You know,
it's crazy.
And you look at you go, man, like I think sometimes, man, would I be mates with my parents if I like, you know what I mean? I think so. Yeah, I think I would have been too, but. It's a weird dynamic. You think, what would I have thought? Would I have been like, these guys are fucking battling here? I mean, because we had lots of kids, like they had lots of kids, so I lead a different lifestyle to what they probably would have led, and so I'm not sure if our paths would have crossed. But it was like, what would I think? Would I be like, man, they're in the grind at the moment, you know, like that. It's weird.
Yeah, I think I would have got along with my old man if we were like, in the thing. Like, my old man's always been super open. Even like obviously me taking drugs and stuff like that as a young kid. I remember he used to ask me, I'm like, yep.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, good. As long as you don't lie to me. If you lie to me, I'm going to give you a hiding. And it was just like, it was a weird relationship where if I didn't have that relationship with him, I don't think I would have ever cleaned myself up, eh?
Well, there's a deceit to it, eh? Where you think like you got to hide everything. And if you're hiding everything, then that breeds more lies. That breeds more, you know, contempt for them. And
like I was super open with my old man about everything. Hey, he just asked me. I remember he asked me if I did pingers one time.
Yeah,
I was in the car and I was in Longridge, and he's like, "Hey, what do you do those? Do you do those ecstasy pills?" And I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "What, hard out?" And I was like, "Yeah."
Yeah.
And then and then he's like, "What? You stick them up your ass?" I was like,
not anymore.
I was like looking at him. I was drinking my Powerade. I was hungover. I was like, "Who you been talking to?"
Yeah.
I was like, who you been chatting to? I was like, I was just like, man. I was like, whatever. Man.
Like, why? Someone tried to. Is that how someone told you how you meant to take them?
Yeah. I was like, drive my ass home.
Yeah. Just said to him, is that how you take them?
Yeah. I was like, man, you old weirdo.
Yeah.
Like, drop my ass at home. Asking if I'm sticking fingers up my ass. I'm hungover. Drop me home.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Perfect. Well, man, I'm respectful of your time, so I know you got stuff places to be.
Cheers, thank you.
Appreciate what you're doing, and I'm sure we'll chat again soon. I'd love to have you on again, and we'll find out how everything's going.
Yeah, man, definitely. Cheers, appreciate it.
Take care.
Thank you.